Hey everyone, welcome to Behind the No Code. So, Behind the No Code is an interactive podcast where we interview no code experts from all around the world and we talk about their personal no code journeys. I'm your host, CSJ, but before we proceed, first, a word from our sponsor, UX Plus University. Welcome back. So be sure to stay until the end, where we'll have a live Q&A with our guest, and you, the audience, get the chance to ask him anything you want, and the best two questions get Webflow merch for free. So stick around for that. Today, we're talking to Mackenzie Child. So Mackenzie is an awesome designer, illustrator, no-coder, template builder, course creator. So he does a lot of things, but he's also known for doing Hatch, Super Mega Pack, the Flamingo Show on YouTube, Flamingo Academy, and many, many more awesome, unique Webflow projects. So let's go chat with him. Welcome, Mackenzie.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for being here.
Thanks for having me, man.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah, where are you based in the East Coast?
I'm based in Georgia, northern Atlanta area.
Awesome. Like, how's it like? Like, how's your childhood like? Were you creative?
I guess I've always kind of been like the type to do random projects and try to start little businesses. I was the one who would go around like shoveling snow and picking up dog poop and stuff like that to make some extra money. I got into web design or graphic design when I was like 15. I saved up, I had a part-time job and I saved up, put all my money towards a new MacBook. And then after that, I started like posting on Craigslist for graphic design, graphic design work. I pirated Photoshop because it was like $2,000 at the time, which is crazy. But I started teaching myself how to do that. And then I started creating like little logos and brochures and stuff. I was really just trying to make some extra money.
Nice.
And then like I slowly transitioned from that into like web design stuff.
Awesome. I guess many people know you as Mackenzie, possibly through Flamingo or possibly through the Webflow templates, or maybe even a few years back on your vlog on YouTube, just following you. I'd love for everyone to know how you became a designer. So how did you go from hustling as a kid? How did you find your way into design?
When I was around 15, I started doing freelance work. And then after high school, I went to the Art Institute of Colorado and I got my associate's degree in graphic design.
Nice.
Yeah, so I learned like the foundational stuff there and then ended up getting a job as a graphic designer at a car, kind of a car company. It's a car dynamometer business called Superflow. But I was doing like all their branding and design stuff. And then, yeah, I just kept doing freelance stuff. And after that, I got that job, I started doing like side projects and then had the job as the main thing. And I've been doing that ever since, actually. As long as I can remember, I've always had some sort of side project I've been doing.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely evident if you scroll down the rabbit hole of your YouTube. Lots of side projects. But I guess what any viewer would say would be you're super prolific. At any stage, you're just building, creating, whether it's for yourself or for others, and then just documenting it. You mentioned you went through an associate degree in graphic design in Art Institute of Colorado. You did
Mhm.
side projects and freelance. What did you get from the school? And then what did you get outside? And how did that shape your actions moving forward?
I definitely learned the foundational elements at
Mhm.
school, but I do feel like I learned more like just freelancing on the side, honestly.
Mhm.
If I had to go back, I don't think I would go to school again. I feel like most of that stuff can be learned through trial and error and YouTube.
Speaking of YouTube, so you were freelancing. What made you start a channel? You've been doing it for a
Um,
while.
yeah, I started my channel doing Ruby on Rails tutorials. I was convinced that if I made tutorials, it would keep me accountable to doing it, but also help me learn better. Because I
Mhm.
read you learn better by teaching, which makes sense
Mhm.
because you have to like, grasp it in a way to explain it, grasp it
Mhm.
enough to explain it to somebody else. So I was
Mhm.
like, okay. And then I did this stupidly big challenge of creating 12 Rails apps in 12 weeks and then a tutorial on each one.
Welcome to week 1 of my 12 and 12 challenge. My goal with this challenge is to teach myself Ruby on Rails by building a new web app each week for 12 weeks. This is week 7 of my 12 and 12 challenge. This is week 9 of my 12 and 12 challenge. This is week 12. We made it to the end of my 12 and 12 challenge.
Yeah. And that's what honestly kickstarted everything.
Right. Yeah. You learned the YouTube ropes, learned how to speak in front of a camera, which is harder than it seems
For sure.
there.
If you go to my very
Yeah,
first
go ahead.
video, I'm so like uncomfortable, like obviously uncomfortable. And the 30-second intro, I spent
Mm.
probably an hour just like, trying to say it over and over again until it like sounded okay. uh,
For sure. Like when you're staring empty, it turns off your brain, like staring deeply into the camera. You can't really make up sentences anymore. So
yeah.
it's like there's that initial recording syndrome that people go through. But it was an interesting start because you started with Rails. All up to this point, you were somehow hustling, doing Photoshop, doing client work. What got you into development? Because I feel like that's a key part of what makes you who you are now.
Yeah. So I was doing like HTML, CSS, tiny bit of JavaScript stuff before I did the Rails challenge. But what got me into that was I used to run a blog called Artists Inspire Artists, and it was basically like an inspiration site. But I bought a template on WordPress, and then it was really just, oh, I want to change this color, and then Googled how to do that, and then it was just like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And it just like snowballed. And then I started like making my own templates, like WordPress
Ah,
templates, and then did a little PHP stuff and I
mm.
was like, I want to build big web apps. So I decided to learn Ruby on Rails. I feel like I've forgotten almost all of that by now because it was like 4 or 5 years ago.
For sure. That's super interesting because I feel like all of these add up in some way. It's somehow unintentional at the time you're doing it,
Mhm.
but definitely fundamentals of building products and then selling products or making tutorials and then selling it in a way or like creating
Mhm.
illustrations for whichever you're doing. And then somehow if you really connect every small bit of your side projects in the past, you can figure out like, oh, that's how Mackenzie can be awesome immediately now. But people don't see all the work that
Oh, yeah. Everything I'm doing now is a result of everything I've been doing for the past 10 years.
for sure.
It's just like trial and error, you know?
Yeah. The illustrations, that's the unique style you built just illustrating. Like when I see something that probably is a clonable Webflow template and it has like a border somewhere and like an awesome illustration, it's probably yours. So like how did you get into illustrations now?
I don't remember when I first started illustration stuff, to be honest. I think I just enjoyed drawing. I'm really bad at
Uh,
drawing, but I enjoy like creating characters and stuff. I think a year or two ago is like when I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. I still don't feel like I'm very good at it, but yeah, I can definitely sit down and knock an illustration or two out.
Yeah, there was a phase in your YouTube where it's all illustrating like daily doodles and also illustrator tutorials.
Yeah, that was I'm burnt out on code and design. I want to do artsy stuff now.
Yeah, and I remember hearing like from one of your videos, your whole goal for that point forward was to be an amazing illustrator. And then that's why you're practicing it every day.
Yeah. I don't
That's
know if
awesome.
I got there, but
It's definitely like one of the Batman's tools in your utility belt.
I
But
still really struggle
uh,
with illustrations, to be honest. Like they take me far too long. Like my flamingo, I spent days on that. I feel like other
yeah,
illustrators could sit down, sketch that up, and knock it out in like a couple hours.
for sure. Yeah, I followed along with that. Like the beak or the head kept changing sizes, and
Yeah.
like I do appreciate the attention to detail. Want to talk about your professional life, your career, jobs you took. Of course, like side projects always are the fun things that people see. But for
Mhm.
creators like us, we have to take on jobs. Did you take any jobs as you were doing these side projects, and how is it like there?
Oh yeah, I've had a full-time job like pretty much my whole career up until recently. Like I started at Superflow doing graphic design and branding stuff, and then
Mhm.
was there for 2 or 3 years. And then I worked at a company called Precision Nutrition, and I was doing graphic design, web design stuff. And from there, I moved to Coach, which turned into Podia. I did like their initial illustration and marketing design, and actually most of the design stuff upfront was what I was working on. And
Mhm.
then about a year and a half ago, I started doing my own thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing at this point.
What were great points in your career or like in those jobs that you took and learned from and like you're using right now in your own business or your personal brand? Any learnings from there?
Now, I definitely like learned a lot from my old boss, Spencer at Podia. Working with him at basically an early startup was a really cool experience that I'm glad I got to have. I was employee number 4, and then I think they were about 20 by the time I left.
Nice.
But yeah,
Uh,
I learned a lot about just business and like work and or design plus business. And
mhm.
yeah,
And then what made you eventually forge your own path?
I think it was just like that time wanted to strike out on my own.
Did
Yeah.
you know that it's going to be like a business or just doing side projects, but now more full time? How was that thought process like?
My focus right now is still do side projects, but my goal is to turn them into both a course and a template, if it makes sense. So basically, like the business would be like teaching how I do my side projects or how I build my side projects. That's the whole gist of Flamingo, or what I'm working towards at least.
Yeah, for sure. And you'd see at the start of those probably I'd say from 2017, like you were teaching and then you were selling things somehow,
Mhm.
but you were, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you were doing that brand that you were like the cat, Chico.
Chico, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So under the Chico brand, yeah, yeah,
yeah, that
you
was
can see
fun.
that. Yeah.
Chico's my cat, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know. It's actually the name of my business, Chico LLC.
Nice.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
didn't end up going down that route. I thought it would be fun to brand it based on my cat, but I think I was like still not great at illustrations at that point, and what I wanted that brand to be was very illustration-y. It just fizzled out.
And then you transition more into focusing on your personal brand or like your name, your own name, Mackenzie Child. But I'd say I feel, or at least as a viewer, it all turned around when you stumbled upon Webflow.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how I found Webflow, but man, it's changed my workflow quite a lot. Especially like recently with all the stuff, like the CMS, for example, has improved so much over the years. And you can basically build anything you could in WordPress like the same way. You can't do like complex web apps yet, but yeah, when I sat down and realized like, oh, I can do what I want to do, but I have to think less about the syntax and stuff, and I can just push buttons until things look how I want. That was a game changer. Yeah. I'm not even sure like I know how to write like grid, CSS grid, to be honest. Like that came out right when I like started using Webflow a lot. So I'm not even sure I would know how to go about writing that, to be honest.
All good, all good. No, nobody would admit that they would know or wouldn't know anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a fun transition, and then I guess that added to your progress in YouTube. Love to hear about like, your point of view on being a multidisciplinary designer. What's your perspective on it?
I believe I'm that way because I get bored with stuff. So jumping around, like just, I think the way my brain works, I kind of have to do that. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't super handy to be able to do every aspect. I know there's the whole like jack of all trades, master of none type thing, but you can get pretty good at most things without having to be a master at them. And then you can do whatever you want with those skills. Yeah, I highly recommend being a generalist. I think it's fantastic. Definitely, obviously, there's reasons to specialize, but being able to do all sorts of things will just help you earn more, help you grow in your career, and like all sorts of things.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Like 100% agree. I read this quote on, I believe it was Chris Do's book. One of the quotes in there was about specializing publicly and generalizing privately. So you generalize privately, but like you show off.
I guess that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because publicly, I'm like mostly doing Webflow stuff.
Yeah,
but behind the scenes, I'm doing like video and illustration and web design and graphic design, all sorts of things.
Yeah, definitely. I guess like for everyone watching, it's good to pick up if you have a keen eye. Try to figure out like what goes on in Mackenzie's head on this next video, like what he's trying to do. Because I was trying to do like that meta exercise in my head, like, oh, he's doing stop motion in this like part of his life. Probably he watched Casey Neistat or something. Like trying to figure out like
I think I know exactly what video you're talking about too.
Yeah.
And yes,
like,
that was from Casey Neistat.
Yeah, for sure. I knew because the music credit was Andrew Applepie or something like that.
Yeah, I found him from Casey's videos, I think.
Yeah, I did the same thing before. I did like vlogs on Instagram, trying to be hip, and like before there was Instagram stories, like the vertical version. Like I shot all my vlogs vertically, so I'd have my camera like this, and like awkwardly shoot everything like this, where like super not convenient. But it's high res, and then like I'm doing all the transitions, Casey Neistat transitions and everything. So,
nice.
Yeah,
it's so much work. It's so much work to do that, especially on a consistent basis. I don't know how people like keep up with that, honestly.
Absolutely. Yeah, like it takes me 2 hours to edit a 1 minute clip or something.
I know.
Like with all
terrible.
Yeah. But it's fun. It was a fun era. I'd say that was like 2016, 2017. Like trying to be a vlogger, or that was fun.
We all did it.
Like it was a face, mom.
Yeah.
Mom. I've seen your videos here and there, even on other tutorial sites. Like way back, I've seen
Mhm.
Rails videos of you. But what pulled me in was like how to do a membership site with these 4 or 5 no code tools. And like
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, yeah, like facing the same like problems. And like, hey, I know this guy. Like, isn't he an illustrator? But whatever. I'm gonna listen because I need to solve this problem. So tell
Nice.
that story of how you started doing tutorials, templates for Webflow, and yeah, how all that led to Flamingo.
So Flamingo, I initially launched it thinking it was going to be a jobs board site, and it never actually ended up being that. I wanted it to be like tutorials plus jobs. Right now, it's a course teaching how I built a marketing site, and
Mm,
it's going to evolve into a bunch of courses teaching how I build all sorts of sites. So basically, my goal is to make the tutorials that I would have liked when I was starting
mm,
out. I think for me, I enjoy like seeing somebody walk through step by step on how to do something, like every
yeah,
single step of the way.
for sure.
So that's the type of content I'm trying to make right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I love to highlight things that you're doing right now. So like you started with Hatch,
Oh yeah,
which is a style guide on steroids. So how did you come up with that? What's the thinking behind that?
yeah. Hatch is it's a utility framework for Webflow. It's very much a copy of what Tailwind is doing. If you have any, or if you know about
Yeah.
that, it's basically like a kind of crappy version of Tailwind inside of Webflow. Like it gets
Mm.
us like part of the way there, but like there's about 2,200 classes right now, and it's like slowing down Webflow. It slows down the designer with that. There's like issues with it, but it definitely does speed up like the workflow.
Production, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a perfect
Uh,
solution, but it's a decent solution, is what I'm trying to say.
that's awesome. Yeah, like I'd imagine like probably the whole process of even just naming it. Like say you're just building everything out and then naming
Hmm.
something, and then something that happens with me when I'm doing Webflow is like if I name something and then I change my mind and delete it, and then I forget it. There's this new other style that lives in my style folder, and I
Hmm.
don't remember if like is that important or is that gonna affect like so like doing that, but for a whole style sheet of like you keeping track of all the names you just made up, and then
Oh
like
yeah, that was
remember.
tough. I had to like
That's great.
be very detailed in Notion and check off what I've added and what I didn't. I think like
Um,
a lot of people have used it so far. I think it's close to 2,000 clones at the
Amazing.
moment,
Congratulations, man.
which means 2,000 sites have started with Hatch. I think that's really cool.
Nice. And something you did as well was Super Mega Pack, which is another amazing product out of you. So what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah, Super Mega Pack is a super mega pack of resources for Webflow.
Mm,
So the idea for that came from I spent a couple hours one weekend organizing some Google fonts that I wanted to like use for my Webflow templates.
mhm.
And I just like spur of the moment put it on Twitter, and it got like a crazy response from it, like thousands
Yeah.
and thousands of people. I had the idea, what if I made a big version of this with all sorts of different stuff? So I spent like a month creating like a bunch of different color palettes, and I added and curated all sorts of like websites and tutorials and stuff. Still need to add more
Nice.
to it, but yeah, it's definitely a cool resource. Like I actually use it quite often, like refer back to it for color palettes and fonts and tutorials and stuff all the time.
And I guess the last two things you're two, three actually. So you did after launching Hatch, you launched Links, which is live as of like a few days ago or like a week ago or something like that, right?
Yeah, just recently went live. Links is a Webflow template. It's basically it's a link in bio, like Linktree, or
Yeah.
so I think the other one's called link in bio. It's basically like a nicer looking version of that built on Webflow.
Yeah.
So it's like a mobile focused site for your links. If you want to check it
Yeah,
out, you can go to mackenzie.link. You can see all how I'm using it there.
and the last thing you're doing, at least publicly, was Journey, which is all around the build in public ideas.
Yeah. So I actually have two different projects I'm working on at the moment. The first one is Journey. It's a template I'm making for the build in public and share what you learn type people. Basically, it's going to be like a timeline layout where you can share like updates or wins, losses, milestones, achievements, stuff like that. And then just like chronicle your journey to build whatever you want or build whatever you're working on. So your startup or renovating your home or paying off debt or whatever.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm excited for that one. I think I just have a gut feeling that it's going to be a popular template.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned one more thing. You're doing two things.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of creating a course on how I built Super Mega Pack, the landing page in Webflow. And then that's going to go along with I'm relaunching Flamingo, switching things up a little bit. It's going to end up being a monthly membership instead of a big one-time payment to get access to the community plus all the courses and stuff. So hoping to launch both of those in the next like month or so.
Nice. Looking forward to that. I'm sure like everyone watching is looking forward to it too. So I guess not gonna ask you any Miss Universe questions of like like anything big, but to wrap it up, what's next for you? How do you see yourself at least in the next few months? What would you be up to?
Oh, this year I am heads down focused on idea template course. So I'm gonna like build one of my ideas, create a course on it, maybe even create a no code type course like my other one, and then turn it into a template and sell it on the marketplace. And then I need to figure out like the fine tuning of the business, like my marketing and my email marketing and all that sort of stuff I need to figure out. But yeah, really just focused on building out Flamingo at this point.
Thank you for taking us through your evolution from wherever you started, like Rails or even like Photoshop or illustration or like your cat Chico to now Flamingo. Thanks for taking time. And where can people find you?
Thanks for having me. And people can find me on Twitter is my main thing. I'm at Mackenzie Child or flamingo.co if you want to check out what I'm up to.
All right, everyone, that's it for this interview with Mackenzie. We have something special for you guys. Jump on this icebreaker link, which will be flashed probably right now. I think that's a link, probably linked somewhere below or like in the description or wherever this shows up. Jump on this icebreaker link and we'll have a Q&A for probably 15 minutes or so with Mackenzie. And we have some awesome prizes for you. There's Webflow merch in there for 2 lucky people. We'll see if there's more. So yeah, jump on this link right now and we'll see you there. Mackenzie and I will see you there.